Hey everybody, Michelle Holloway-Brooks here, and I am popping in with a special vlog to really kind of help set people up for what's going on astrologically right now. I love astrology, and I love to work with it, especially the astrological wheel and the planets as archetypes, and I can really geek out in it. I don't share too much about it because I find that a lot of people get powerlessness with astrology, and so I'm just trying to start to bring it in a way that helps you learn how to harness and to work with the psychic weather, the energy that is happening around us and is present and for us, versus feeling like doomsday, oh day, oh dang, oh snap, I'm gonna get tossed around by the fates of the world, right? So I want to talk to you guys about a beautiful transit that's just come in. It's going to be with us from June 4th until October 23rd of 2022. And Saturn has gone into retrograde, and it's working within Aquarius. And so most people have heard of the term retrograde, especially Mercury retrograde, like, oh my gosh, all my electronics, my communication, my way of connecting are going to go out, and I'm not supposed to make decisions in there. And again, like doomsday. So what does retrograde mean? I just want to pause real quick and just say that. So retrograde, think of the RE, anything you can put as inviting you. Anytime any planet goes into retrograde, it's inviting us in to revisit, to reflect, to look at and review something, to revamp, to renew our relationship with whatever that archetypal pattern is of the planet that it is doing that retrograde dance with. And it doesn't really go backwards. It's just the place that we look, it looks like it's walking backwards, and then it stops and then starts trying to catch up to us. That's just what that means. Okay, so the transit of retrogrades are an ideal time if we know what these are and we know when they're present. We can get off the feeling like we're like getting battered around by these uncontrollable energies, and instead really reevaluate, and look at the ways that we've organized our lives within the theme of that planet for that retrograde. Okay, so it takes us into inviting us into that discerning lens of what we need to shift, change, prioritize, release, need to call forward, something new needs to come in to renew itself in order to help us reinvest our resources, our time, our treasures, and our talents, right? Those are all of our resources in a way that brings us into alignment with our true self and our highest potential. So for those of you that do work with your astrological wheel, either through the planets in your natal chart and all that good stuff, or you work with it through Carolyn Mace's archetypal wheel, this is the dance of that 10th house, that highest potential. And it's a perfect time to step in there. Okay. So right now, like I said, we are in that Saturn retrograde, and then it goes through June 4th through October 23rd. And the main themes of what are Saturn? You might want to kind of ask that question, because it's good to know that when we are working with these retrogrades. So Saturn is about time. It's about boundaries, the boundaries we put on ourselves, the good, the bad, the ugly ones. It's about inviting us into the evolution of our consciousness, of choice, of how we can step into that, what we're aware of, how we see the ripples of our life. It's called like the Lord of Karma sometimes, or the ruler of karma, of choice. That the idea of that cause and effect ripple, when we make choices based off of whatever we're making those choices off of, it drops us into a cause and effect wheel. And that just keeps churning until we shift that by making other choices. So it invites us into seeing limitations that we're putting on ourselves, imposed on ourselves, accepting how we're working with that, obligations and duty, what we should do. Okay, it's all governed by Saturn. So then it takes us naturally with that karmic piece into that cause and effect, that death and rebirth cycle. And this is just highlighting a top few of the pieces that come with Saturn. Okay. So I like to help people meet Saturn. It is a teacher. Just like Jupiter is a planet that's a teacher. However, the energies of Saturn are very different from the energies of the teacher archetypal pattern that you will find in Jupiter. Jupiter, I like to think of as this amazing, that teacher, that that one professional, I'm just envisioning one of my professors that just lit me up. Like, he had so much like joy and wonder and awe. Like, I saw brand new possibilities through his eyes, right? That's kind of who I think of when I think of Jupiter and how that energy works and how it fears. It really invites us into evolving, expanding past ourselves, the wisdom, all of this amazing energy that is present, and invites us into embracing that growth from this point of view of exploration beyond our limits, and with excitement and curiosity, right? That's Jupiter. Saturn, on the other hand, is more like a massive like taskmaster. It's inviting us into change, and it's inviting us into that stepping forward, but it's doing it from showing us all of our limits, like all of our fears that we've put on ourselves, all the boundaries, the way we box ourselves in, the way we are running in our system with this is just the way it is, this is cause and effect, this is just like what I've been told, this is what I've been taught. Saturn directly asks us to look at all the ways that we are working and being herded into choices based off of fear, and that we're going to, and the actions that we either are taking or are not taking based off of those limits, based off of that constriction, based off of those boundaries, right? And so Saturn is, like I said before, often referred to as that lord or ruler of the karmic wheel, right? And it's because what Saturn brings to us, that shows to us, is our cause and effect wheel. It shows to us like, hey, you're running off of these choices. Do you want to keep doing that or not? It says, it takes us a hard look at the place where our self-criticism, self-sabotaging, of not wanting to make a wrong choice, or not wanting to not be accepted, or I might be letting somebody down. Well, this is what I've just always done, so I have to keep doing it this way. It invites us into being aware and says, hey, take a look at all the ways you're inhibiting yourself. Take a look at all the ways you're judging yourself, and you're censoring yourself from past fears or choices. And you're basically, by doing that, you're devouring. It's because the myth of Saturn is he devoured his kid. They like to do that a lot in the God's world, right? But where are we devouring our new creative offspring? Where are we devouring, taking out opportunities for us to step into a new creation cycle, into a new karmic wheel, right? And do we want to keep doing the things the way that we've been doing them, the way that's not working, and we're devouring up our energy and our creation cycles and what could be next? Do we want to keep doing it that way, or are you ready to break free from those old choices, from those old karmic wheels, shake that stuff off and step into a new cause and effect wheel, right? That's what Saturn's here to help us do. Pretty awesome when you really think about it. However, Saturn does not hold any punches, and for that reason, so many people really do not like it, when Saturn comes knocking with its Saturn return, the first one in our late 20s, the next one that comes in, about 29 years. So like, when we're going into our like our 60s, somewhere in there, when we're starting, when Saturn comes back in, it can rustle some feathers and really mess us up. Well, when we go into retrogrades, it's inviting us into that same energy. So I'd like to give you a different way to maybe work with Saturn. You're like, why would I want to work with Saturn, Michelle? It's because Saturn is like that wise old elder that just cuts to the chase. They can look at you. So let me tell you what it is, and they just tell you straight how it is. And yes, that level of truth and clarity, man, that can hurt a bit. That can sting, right? That can feel like you've gotten slapped backwards. And it's also that level of truth, that level of cutting through all the BS and just being like, here it is. What do you want to do with it? It lets you be able to get in there, right? It's sage advice. It's insights that we need, the clarity and the level of like, here it is. We need that energy in order to transform the beliefs and the limitations that are no longer serving us, be able to transcend, break free, go into a whole new level of getting off of that karmic fate wheel, right? Where life is just happening to us and I'm stuck in it and I can't do anything with it, and helps us hop over to that wheel of destiny, right? To that wheel of greater fulfillment in our life. So Saturn, like all great teachers, is really inviting us into exploding past our fears and into our greatness, okay? So Saturn's not all bad. It's not all bad. All right, so a little bit advice for this transit. So again, between June, now June 4th and October 23rd. Sorry, I always forget it's backwards on when I'm recording. So while many people try to basically pull down the blinds and act like they're not home when Saturn comes a knocking, because it's just there. It's like, hey, we're dealing with this. Let's go, brass tacks. Put on your big girl boots or your big boy boots, and we're all going in. Right? I would like to invite you to, instead of pulling down the shades and acting like you're not home, to work with Saturn's themes head on. Like really meet Saturn and let Saturn help you identify, look at the different ways. Life gets so much easier when we stop sidestepping Saturn's invitations and realize that it is really trying to help us break free of some of these really ingrained karmic dominating systems that are no longer serving us. Side note here, this is not only happening for you personally, this is going to be happening within every aspect of this thing called your life. So within your personal body being, within your family unit, within your work unit, your organizations, your church, like energy is up globally as well as individually. So think global and also think local inside you at the same time that this energy is up. And it will give you a little bit more grace for maybe what you're going to see and witness over the coming months, right? So once we can see these choices, these ways that we have ingrained and dominating systems based off of fear, based off of old, outdated obligations and surge and karmic tags that are no longer serving us, once we can see that, we can begin to dismantle them. We can then also once those are dismantling, we can call forward new, step into that next beautiful cycle, right? A new way of being in aligning with our true self that is not based off of the self that we created in order to survive, right? We're saying, okay, great deep bow. I have so much honor and respect for those parts of me, those ways of beings, those habits that did what they needed to do to survive. We understand that, and now we're ready to break free. We're ready to go to the next level because this is no longer serving us, right? And then when we do that, then we're able to merge with our wise one self and really become our own master, right? And so to speak, instead of giving that term, what is my master, to something or someone else that maybe is no longer having the highest good and benefit, right? So here's some things to be aware of between now and the 23rd of October. So during this retrograde, you know that Saturn is going to ask you to work a little harder at looking at the areas of your life, relationships, and ways of being that are causing you to devour your creative offspring, right? That are causing you to rob your own creation cycles, your own beautiful ability to create new things, to step into new ways of being, to call forward different things, right? This is what's up. And it's saying, hey, can we take a look at that? So it's going to be, what's going to happen is that there's going to be lots of opportunities to highlight and illuminate all the ways that you are holding up your own track of empowerment and self-evolution, right? The ways you're like holding it hostage. And it's going to invite you into saying, hey, take a look at this, right? It's going to invite you to look at how you're investing your greatest resource, time. Where we spend our time, how we spend our time in our mind, in our daily actions, in our daily routines and rhythms, those are what makes up that wheel, right? That just keeps churning. And this is where the self-sabotaging comes in and gets us to like Oh, I got to the end of the day and I didn't get to anything I needed to get to. I got to the end of the week. Oh, I've lost all of June. Oh, snap, I've lost all of July. Right? And so really be on the lookout for ways that you're going to try to self-sabotage within your own daily routines and rhythm in life, right? Because it's trying to illuminate it. It's trying to like bring it forward and say, wow. So we can get ahead of it by starting to bring our intention to saying, okay, how am I spending and investing my time? Is it helping me to step into creation, or is it devouring it like a little Pac-Man up so I don't have what I need to be able to create? So we're going to be illuminating within the next few months ways that you're blocking, reallocating your time and your resources so that you are creating those healthy habits in a way that support you fully, based off of a sense of obligation. Oh, I should do this, or I need to do that. Well, I've always done it this way, so this is the way I'm going to do it. You know, be on the lookout for those and asking yourself this question of like, wow, are these thought processes true? Are these real? Do they still serve me? Did this rhythm work for me at a different point, but it doesn't work for me now? All those questions are what's going to be up there. And so I invite you to, one, buckle up. Because whenever Saturn's in, you know you're going for a ride, right? So just buckle up, because between now and the end of October, these are the questions that are up. This is the inventory of your choices, of your allocations, of how you're utilizing these resources that is up for not only you, but everyone and everything individually and collectively, on a big scale and all the way down to the minute scale of individual. So, you know, cheers, yay! For liberation and evolution energy. It can be a little bit jarring. So here's a couple tips that I'd love for you to take a look at. And I got a blog coming out with all this written down. So if you're a note taker, just know you can go to my blog and get all this. If you're interacting with this video in a social media place, just click the link and go to the blog. So first off, Saturn 101, you got to be willing to be real. I mean, again, think about that wise elder standing in front of you that can just look at you. They do the little wink, they do the little smile, right? And they see straight through all of the BS of all the what ifs and yeah buts and all these things that we create for ourselves. So step one for Saturn in transit is, okay, I'm going to be really willing to be real with myself, to see past all these shadow games that we have that keep us from having that clarity, right? That really clean, like, oh, I just saw it. That is what it is, right? To harness this transit, the power of this transit, to help you like really use this power that's up right now, so that you have the drive and the energy, because Saturn also has a lot of get her done energy. You know, Jupiter comes in very mind oriented, like big expansion. Saturn's like, oh no, I'm boots on the ground, honey. You know, we are moving. So use that energy to your benefit, right? We've got this chunk, this window that is there. It's saying, hey, what do we want? What do we need to shift, change, and create? So we're going to use this energy to take on the themes. And here's my advice: one at a time. Okay. So ask your team to help you with discernment. Ask your team of like, which area of my life, like you imagine one of those little life wheels that has like finances, career, you know, recreation and passions and like times and talents and friends and, you know, partner and like all those different little sections of your thing. And I might even put a little one on my blog so you have it to look at. Imagine if you're looking at all of that. What Saturn can sometimes feel like is it's telling you, you got to do the whole thing now. And if you do that, if you buy into that surge of energy, like I got to do this whole life wheel and I got to do it all between now and October 23rd and get it all online, and what it's going to feel like by the time you get to October 23rd is that Saturn has chewed you up and spit you out, and you're like sitting on the side of the road, like been run over a couple times, right? So we don't want that to happen. So instead, I really invite you to sit down in a meditation and to take a look at like what areas are best for me to start to focus on right now. And we're going to use the law of cause and effect, the law of attraction, the laws of like constant change and motion. We're going to use those to our advantage, because when we do that, we know if we take on one thing and say, okay, this is the one thing that I am being guided to work on. Here's the limiting beliefs, the boundaries, the different old obligations and ways of being that are no longer serving me. Look at those, dismantle them, bring them in, and then call for it. Okay, what new way wants to come in, and like try and adjust and really focus on that. It ripples out across that whole life wheel. We don't have to run around and do everything in that. It just literally ripples out, right? So we're going to use that to our advantage. And I might put in a little extra guided meditation to help you with that as well. So Saturn, again, is about action and accountability. So my tips for working with this energy is to go beyond awareness and illuminating. So what happens with us a lot in personal evolution and expansion is we have awareness of something, we see it, we illuminate what's up with it, and then we stop right there. We don't keep going, right? Action and accountability means that like we're going to open up to inviting even Saturn himself, like, hey, Saturn, like, hey, help me understand, illuminate, like which rules. The other thing I love about Saturn, I forgot to say this earlier, let me say it now. What I love about Saturn is it's not just about, hey, break free. It actually has a lot of discernment energy into it, like of which rules are beneficial, which rules we do need to follow and work with, and which ones are not, which ones we need to break free. So instead of like rebel without a cause, it's like rebel in balance. Like, hey, these rules work, these rules don't. And so there's discernment in there. Right? So what I love to invite people into when Saturn is present for them, and it's present for everybody right now, is opening up to those reflection questions of what actions are best and right and correct for me right now. Like which ones are going to help support me here and now, and which ones do I need to just go hands off on, that's not time, or which ones do I need to go, oh no, those are still good, keep those in there, right? Because the Saturn has that ability within Saturn. So know that Saturn is also going to hold you accountable for whatever you get in that guidance. It's going to gnaw at you. If you don't move into action with whatever you got into that guidance, Saturn is like that teacher that's like staring at you. And it's like hands on hips. It's like, hello, are you willing to step into this? Are you willing to do this? And it won't let you go. It just keeps like needling, at you. Like think of that thorn in the side energy, the best way to deal with that is take the thorn out, move into action. You either can keep working with it or not. And so what happens with sometimes people with Saturn energy is when they don't want to move into action, but they've got illumination and clarity, and they're like in this funky, like resistance, fear, whatever place, they try to move around it. Like, okay, I'll just hold my body this way. I'll just do that. So keep an eye out for when you see yourself, procrastinating, numbing yourself out, disconnecting yourself out. So, these are addictive behaviors that could even be like working harder or doing more. Like we always go negative with working like addictive behaviors, but there are other ways that we numb ourselves, slow us down, sidestep the actions that we know we're supposed to be taking. So I always invite people whenever Saturn is present, is to really keep an eye out, be savvy, again, keep it real. The first thing I told you, about when you find those behaviors, and then be willing to drop in, okay, what's behind them? And usually I tell people to start with what fears are present. Like what ways are we afraid of, like that we're either running down the wrong road faster or that we are not willing to step on the road that we see is lit up with neon signs right there in front of us. Okay. So just know that this Saturn in retrograde is about restructuring that inner world, right? So that our outer world becomes more in alignment. Again, it's about creation. It's about not devouring and taking out that next creation cycle from our way that we can interact with. That's tangible. So what I love about Saturn is it doesn't come in with just big ideas. it's again about creating tangible earth-based ways of working with these realignments. And so it really helps us work with, if we embrace this energy and we step into it, creating the shifts and changes in our daily lives, with our families, with the groups and the organizations we're in with, that really benefits the all. It elevates and illuminates and evolves the whole system. It's so beautiful. So between now and the end of October, just know that you have a beautiful opportunity to work consciously the wisdom path, or unconsciously the woe path, with aligning to your own personal path, so that you are living, loving, and leading your authentic life, the one that is in alignment with who you are now and who you want to be and what you want to create, versus the old version, that karmic version that's based off of old choices, right? So Saturn's here to help us do that in this retrograde, and I'm excited. So it felt really important. I felt guided to kind of go a little astrological with you and share some of that with you, and I hope this is helpful. Again, Michelle Holling-Brooks with Unbridled Change, and helping you to find the hope, healing, and growth that you have been searching for. See ya.